Bert! Get him! Yeah! Ron Babe was right.
I'm feeling spry. It is the 26th of January. Whew. I'm telling you what, this is like the lead up to everything coming up. I was just in Lansing, Michigan with the Pheasants Forever State chapter meeting. They asked me to come out and give a little talk of all things. Give a little talk, which I did. I was up there for about half an hour, told some stories, and met a few people, met one of my patrons. Shout out to you, Pete, stopping by. He's a PF chapter leader. But I'll tell you what, and I know why they had it in Lansing, and I was happy when I saw it was at a brewing company. What I wasn't happy about was this brewing company was nowhere near as great as Watermark Brewing Company. Now, if they'd have had the meeting at Watermark Brewery in Stevensville, Michigan, Watermark is the brewery that fuels this podcast, fuels this kennel, fuels this liver. It would have been an even bigger success. But it was a really great event. I want to thank anybody who's listening. I know a few new people showed up, or a few people that didn't know anything about the podcast. That always happens. You're always looking for new listeners. Met quite a few people there in Lansing. Like I said, my only regret, maybe next year I can get them to do it at Watermark Brewery. Maybe. I bet you I can get them a good deal. Just saying, all you other chapter members out there, if you want to do an event, you know what I'm saying, So this is going to take a while. This could be one of the long ones, and I haven't even started with the sponsors yet. We're at 2 minutes. So in the last month, I've been having all kinds of issues with my Samsung Android phone. So no, I'm not looking for a phone sponsor or anything like that. But I did have it overheat in the sauna one time. Now when and I've seen this happen in my car too, sitting on like my armrest on a sunny summer day, all of a sudden it says, restart or shut it down or cool off phone. App won't work, phone too hot, stuff like that. Well, that was happening in 0 degrees weather driving around on the way home from Kansas. It wasn't in the sun. And it's just been getting worse. It's been getting wonky and it's been getting shaky. And you look at stuff and it kind of jiggles while you're trying to read it. Well, then my mapping wouldn't come up, right? And I'm going to Lansing, and I know I'm going to a Holiday Inn Express, and I know where one is at on exit 93 on I-96. I know at exit 93 there's a Holiday Inn Express. I've stayed there. Now, I cannot get this app thing to work. Now, that shows you how addicted – no, wrong word. How dependent we are on these damn devices. And, yes, I do call them a damn device because you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And so anyway, I go to that Holiday Inn to ask them where another Holiday Inn Express is. Granted, there's 2 more, right? So I picked the one that I feel it's going to be at. And on dead reckoning from them showing me where it was at, telling me where it was at, and I actually had to ask the girl to show me the map, right? She had to pull it up on her phone. Nice receptionist, considering I wasn't going to take a room from them. And anyway, bottom line was I blew it up. I looked. It was real simple. All I had to do was get on 496, 127 North, and get off at Lake Lansing Road. It's going to be right there. Okay, piece of cake. I've drove around Lansing enough, worked around Lansing enough. I got there. But I'm feeling like, okay, I can get home. If I can't call my wife, the phone's still working. But that's the only thing working on this phone is the phone. And we don't count on our phones just for phone. We count on them for entertainment. Anyway, I got to go in 6 o'clock to kind of meet a few people and have something to eat and something to drink. And on the way back from there, and I asked on the way back from the brewery that we had the event at, I saw a big old nice shopping center, and right there on the end cap was Verizon, and that's my carrier. So I went in there the next day. Dropped off some stuff. I dropped off some what I call coasters for giving away prizes. I said hi to everybody. Excuse me. I told them I was going to the Verizon store, and I got to talk at 1:30. I said, I'll be back here by 12 o'clock, guaranteed. If not, I'm going to leave my new phone that they're going to have to work on. And it was like, yeah, no worries. All you got to do is be here at 1:30. Just don't be late, because we got nobody else to put up on the stage to yak. And it took 2 hours. I was at the door when it opened at 10. I got out of there at like 12:10. Took 2 hours, and I went to the dark side of the world. I went to the iOS platform. I have an iPhone. To be honest with you, it's no different than the rest of you. The only reason I got the iPhone was because all my daughters and my wife and everybody else has got them. And I'm like, all right, let me see what this is going to be like, Now, here's the problem. When you got Android and you got to go, this is a long way getting around to my sponsors, I can tell you right now. When you got an Android and you go over to an Apple, to iOS, it doesn't, it can take your pictures and your contacts, but you're not getting all your apps. And when you do get your apps, they're not programmed. You're going to have to reprogram them. And I wouldn't leave that place until I reset my password for who? You guessed it, for OnX. For OnX. That was the first app on my new phone that I had to re-sign into. And, of course, I didn't look at my Samsung notes to remember where I wrote my password down, so I had to reset my password. And, boom, that worked. Boom, that came up on my dashboard. That was my navigator, which I didn't need at this point because I know how to get back home from Lansing. But that's how much I rely on Onyx. It's like a friend of mine from Montana called on the phone. I said, you are the first call on my new iPhone. And he's like, oh, Ronnie, congratulations. I said, thanks, Bill, thanks. And the second thing I did on that phone was to get my Onyx on the phone, on my dashboard, so I could be on my game this year, finding places to run the dog, finding places to do duck searches. Yeah, I said duck searches, okay? Anyway, all listeners, of course, you can get this on the back of a box of cereal. But if you don't have Onyx Elite, and you've heard me yak about it forever, all right, the title sponsor of this show offers HDP 20, Hunting Dog Podcast 20. You get 20% off. Now, personally, I think HTP 25 would be better, but I haven't been able to get them to do it. So, if you got to renew, or if you're just a one-state person and you're saying, I'm traveling this year, you want to use HDP 20 and get your OnX on your dashboard, on your phone, in your head, in your daily routine. Because like I said, we're addicted to phones, and one of the things I'm addicted to is Onyx. Whew. I'm going to have to shorten up these other ones. Thank you. Gunner Kennel, W Supply, Garmin, W9. Sorry. Gunner Kennels. Well, all the stuff I had on the hunting trip was in there. In fact, I shouldn't say this on the air, but I never locked my truck. So in that truck was still 2 Gunner Kennels. It was everything. Well, the last thing I ordered from W Supply, which is actually a bunch of collars, and my last transmitter from W Supply, that was in the back of my Model M, my 4-wheel camper Model M. My Garmin collars in my other handheld and my 300, that was all in the truck. I got to be an idiot for not locking this thing. I had a whole box of K9 Athlete Hydrate and Recover for Kansas because I meant to give it to my friends out there that I met, my new friends. And guess what I didn't do? I didn't see it was in a box in the back. So that was in the back of the Model M camper. My Mossberg was still in there, my 410. I also had my AYA in there. Like, I got to be a dummy. But, who's going to walk up to a truck like that and just open the back? It's not like they're looking in the window of the truck. I think sometimes, however you travel, it's intimidating. Like, people can walk by a car and act like they're parking there, but you start wandering around the back of this camper, you don't know what you're going to open up when you open up the back of that thing. So maybe that's why I never get broken into. I don't know. Well, you can't get broken into when you don't lock it. You can have stuff stolen from you. Duh. But I still had a case and a half of Boss shot shells because I was hoping some of the Breckies were going to be 16-gauge shooters. They weren't, and I should have brought them some 20-gauge from Boss, but I didn't. But the Boss shot shells were back there. My Gunner food crate was back there full of Purina Pro Plan. You know what wasn't back there? The one thing I unloaded was my traveling kitchen box because I had it with my frozen quail. So there was nothing from Walton's in the back of that Model M camper. Now, there should be something from Walton's in your kitchen, and you can use promo code HDP10 to get 10% off anything not on sale at Walton's. And I would say just dabble with their spices, but get their catalog. It's like, you know when you get like a new Covers magazine or Quail Forever magazine or a new Gundog magazine, and he's like, oh, God, I got a good nag. I'm telling you, get the Walton's catalog and just thumb through it. If you can't find something you don't want in that catalog and you have to have, you're obviously listening. You obviously thought this was like a pet psychology podcast when you tuned in. There was a gob of marsh. I was wearing marshwear. There was a gob of marshwear in there because it's about all I wear. And my shacket was in there, my pullover hoodie, all their stuff. It kind of says I hunt, but you could still just go to another restaurant, go out to dinner, and it doesn't scream. It's not like wearing camouflage, although they do have camouflage. Look at marshwear, and you can do that. All you listeners can do that. HTP15 for 15% off marshwear. Canine Athlete, I think I mentioned that. Of course, that I had all kinds of hydrate and recover back there that I forgot to give out. But you can get 25% off your first purchase of Canine Athlete with the promo code Canine Athlete. If you don't know how to spell it, I'm not gonna. Just you don't want to save any money. I had my Arxis boots. I had my Jalfur, Joa. I don't know how to say it. I had them because that was on my trip to Kansas. I had everything. I did the only thing. I tell you what, the only thing that wasn't in that camper was some Waltons and any beer from Watermark because Watermark gives me a barrel of beer. It sits in my kennel in a kegerator. And right now I'm drinking Bodega Mexican Lager. In fact, at this brewery, I asked them if they had a Mexican lager because now I'm a hot shot when I go to a brewery. Like, oh, what's your Hefeweizen like? Do you have a Mexican lager? Yes, we do. And I tried it, and it was just okay. It wasn't Bodega. Well, anyway, so there. I met earlier. Where are we at here? Oh my God, I've actually done longer intros, which is hard to believe. I met one of my patrons there. I met an old, I want to say friend. I didn't work back in this part of the state for a long time on any of his projects, and he came up to me, and I actually gave him. We had an accidental litter 26 years ago, and I gave him and a buddy of his a dog from Queenie and Haskell. They were at the state convention, the Pheasant Forever State Convention. Wayne Block, if you're listening, Bob, your buddy, I can't believe I was so glad we reconnected. Somebody that I met that many years ago. Where am I going with all this? Well, if I'm going to Patreon. Patreon, I am going to, and I think you've seen the difference. There's going to be more and more. I've got a lot of trips coming up. I got Bozeman coming up this Thursday. But February, I'm going to be pretty much home from the 4th of February for the whole month. And I am going to double down on Patreon content. And the next Zoom room, I bumped it out until February because I didn't want to be rushed. I couldn't do it this coming Thursday. I'm going to be on a flight. So my Patreon patrons' next Zoom room is the first Thursday in February. And I encourage you to join Patreon and see what it's all about. You will get Zoom rooms. You can meet people. You can ask questions. You can get tips. You can get trips. And you can also just have a few beers and listen to us banter and jump in when you can. And I mean can because sometimes we kind of talk over each other. But we're going to be showing more and more Upland Institute segments. Some of these I'm going to give you some play-by-play on. Some of these you can just watch. So patrons, I'm not saying you're going to get the whole course. You'd have to be a patron for probably 3 years by the time we show this. But I want to show you, I want people to start training their dog. And it doesn't matter if they buy the Upland Institute. What it matters is sometimes you just see a little something and you're like, all right, I'm going to build a training table. That's it. I'm building the training table. You know what I'm saying? Or that's it. I'm going to put a woe post in the yard and I am going to start some woe training. You're going to see a lot. I'm going to be talking a whole lot about that kind of stuff and all the other nonsense we do. Oh, that's it. God, what are we at? Oh, yeah, we're going to be like 16 minutes when this is done. My apologies. This was what I recorded when I went out to the Brecky farm in Kansas. And well, you can tell from the episode how much I enjoyed this family's company, their property, their hospitality, their everything. Everything. I literally, the only thing I brought out there was beer. And no, it wasn't from Watermark Brewery because I wasn't going to bring a barrel out there. But that was the only thing I brought. They took care of me like kings. And so this episode is dedicated to the Breckies. And it's obviously about the Breckies. I love you guys. I love you girls. And here's what, you know what? I used to say that all the time. You know what I think I'm going to finish it off with? This is what I finished it off with at my talk at the state meeting. When I got done telling some stories, it was about why I hunt and how I started hunting. But, you know, it's kind of comical at some points and it's very serious at other points. But it's the story. And I told people, you know, how I like to sign off on the podcast. But on my website and on some things I've written, it should go like this. This is about the dogs and the people that I've known, the dogs and the people that have passed, and the dogs and the people that I've yet to meet. And this episode's got a little of all that. See you next week. Like I always do, let's just start this off. Jay, thank you for inviting me to the family. The family. We call this a farm, or we
call it the Brecky farm.
The Brecky farm.
Sure.
Yep.
With your dad Eric, your brother Matt, and Jay. You were on the podcast. You know, the third most famous veterinarian in the sporting dog world.
Probably.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of sporting dog veterinarians out there.
That's actually kind of funny.
I think that's probably. And the other thing I said I was going to tell you guys, like, the family business, if you will, is you're a biologist, you know, Eric, and Matt followed in his father's footsteps, and then Jay disappointed the whole family and went into medicine.
I hope we laugh after that, right?
Poor Jay, he just didn't get it. I got a wonderful invite to come hunting, and I know everybody who. I don't want to say that I'm a traveling wing shooter, but I've traveled a lot around the country, and I get a lot of invites. And I get enough invites to where I don't have enough time to take them. But after talking to you on the podcast, and then you came on a Zoom room, and whose dog is that? It's probably my dog. After talking to you on the Zoom room, dogs will do this on cue.
He's been quiet the whole night.
Right, the whole night. And you can let him out. Who is it? Is it my dog?
Yeah.
Oh, you're kidding. Is that Vivi? Stop. Okay. Anyway, after getting off the Zoom room, before I disconnected the line, Jay said, hey, if you ever want to come out and hunt with my brother and my dad and I, go quail hunting. And I said, well, it's only 900 miles. I mean, how bad of an idea could that be? And the season's still open in January.
There you go.
But one of you, whether it's Eric or Matt or Jay, I would go to the is it patriarch or patriarch?
Yeah.
Patriarch, the patriarch of the family. How did this come about? You guys started in, well, your family came from Wisconsin, North Dakota, you're in Colorado, but how did you find Kansas to be a place you wanted to go to?
Well, back in the 80s, we hunted quite a bit in eastern Colorado and southwest Kansas, and just hit a drought down in southwest Kansas and didn't have very good hunting. Wanted to try to find someplace else where get some more birds, get a little bit more hunting. So we started exploring northwest Kansas a little bit, and my folks came out this way and met some people. Yeah.
And what age were you at that point?
Oh, well,
teens, 20s?
This would have been in my 30s, probably.
In your 30s, okay.
Yeah.
Early 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah, early 90s.
Yeah.
And kind of got connected to the community in a couple of different ways. And my brother Kent spent half a year in Alaska on a business, guiding business on a boat, and spent some time out here in Kansas, a half a year. And so we actually bought a small house in the nearest town, and got to know, like I said, got to know a lot of people. Kent bought some property out here in the country and built a house in 2012, and sadly he passed away in 2018 from Parkinson's.
You guys are keeping up the.
Yeah.
This is the place. Yeah.
He didn't have a family, but he.
Well, he had you guys.
Yeah. Well, no,
Right.
exactly.
Didn't
That's
have his
right.
own. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we always came out here several times a year to hunt, and help me out.
What about the boys? I mean, like, how early were they coming out? Jay and Matt. Like.
Yeah, so I think first trip out here was 1995. So I was 12 years old and shot my first rooster out here, and
I remember it.
yeah.
Do
we
you
just
remember it?
Oh yeah.
I can remember my daughter's first grouse. It's like so weird. You could remember his first rooster. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he probably remembers as much from your stories as. I mean, was it luck or did you?
No.
No, we
It
got
was-
into
it was
him.
good.
The dog got it up, and yeah, we just kind of fell in love with this area and the people out here. And bird hunting was better than we had. And Jay was a couple years behind, but we thought this was a place that was some place we wanted to explore a little bit more.
Yeah. So you've been coming here way before this place because
Sure.
your parents came to a town,
Right.
literally bought a house in town, basically, right?
They did. Kind of as a base
Which
of
we all know,
operations, so.
whether it's today or 30 years ago, it's a pretty good deal to buy a house in a small rural town in any Midwestern area, right?
Exactly.
They bought it for what, 16 grand or something?
$14,000 for a
Oh my gosh.
small house, and we had
Can we
Thanksgivings.
Airbnb that and still make some money on that, maybe?
Had Thanksgivings out here with a lot of people sleeping on the floors, and just really loved it. And then my brother bought the property here and built a house, and like I said, he passed away, and so we've been trying to improve the property.
You've been trouncing around this whole county for
yeah,
a
for
long time.
Long time.
In fact, you had a farmer over here the other day, and you were kind of talking about how's the non-resident situation. He goes, well, you're not a non-resident.
Yeah.
You've been here for 30, 40 years or more.
Good to hear that.
What was it? I remember meeting a guy. He's a fellow judge friend of mine back in the day. His name was Chip Bondi. When all of us were going to the Dakotas, he was always going to Kansas. And he said, it's the most fun you can have. And now this was 25, 30 years ago. Was it that crazy better that long ago? I mean, in areas, or was it still a, day to day, not every day is the same? What was it like for you, Matt?
I mean, I think it was still headed up. It's ups and downs, but just less people, more space to get out. Not the outfitters around here. I think it was just more available for your kind of everyday guy to get out and explore, and just big country out here. Birds in pockets. Of course, we have quail, some prairie chickens. So the opportunity to shoot, different birds in a day, and just kind of go around. In this area of Kansas, there's a lot of big landowners, so you can still get permission from one farmer. You might be set for a day or more. Yeah. So that's pretty attractive. And then the weather's
do the
good.
door knocking? Dad, Matt, or the young one, Jay?
Uncle Kent.
Uncle Kent did the door knocking.
He would trade him fish from Alaska.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
as a thing, you wouldn't say it was ever like people talk about going to South Dakota and seeing roosters. Was there a period in Kansas in your guys' time here that was almost like, oh, this is great? Or was it always a bit of a...
He's buffer.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, as a young kid, I never knew why people wanted to go all the way to South Dakota, North Dakota. I thought Kansas was just as good,
Right.
but I had nothing to compare to.
Right.
But yeah, some of the pictures we have around the house, holding, it's the only state that has a limit of 4, right? So that's and there's multiple times that 3 or 4 of us had that.
Happened a lot in your life.
So that picture over there was what, 2006, 7, something like that, which was pretty good for that many birds there was never more than 3 or 4 of us hunting at a time.
And I think in the last 10 or 15 years, it's the bird numbers are cycling on the drought. That we have
just because of the
every
drought.
now and then.
I mean, farming changes for sure, but if the weather would ever cooperate, this is still pretty.
From what we've seen,
we'll go into we're not going to go day by day and hour by hour hunt. We're going to recap some of the highlights a little bit of this trip. But I personally, the last time I targeted quail was when my daughters were 15. That's a long time ago. It was 33 years ago. And they won a trip through Pheasants Forever, something we're all dear near to. I see Pheasant Forever life membership plaques all over the house here. And I put my daughter's name in the hat, and I put all 3 daughters' name in the hat, and they picked Kelsey's name. And we got to go to Kansas. And I remember the first time I got into a covey of bobwhite quail, I wasn't carrying a gun, but the twins were. And Jesse was carrying a video camera. And there was nothing caught on the video camera. There was nothing shot. The trigger wasn't even pulled because it was like, like you stepped on a bottle rocket mine.
Yep.
And I shot a couple in South Dakota, believe it or not. Just they happened to be right at the southern part of it.
The quail?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Years ago, but I've never really gone to a. So when Jay said we've got quail, not a promise of like, oh, you're gonna see this. She goes, we got quail. It's like, okay, I'm driving. But what is it about this property? I don't know who wants to speak to it. What is it about this property that's holding the birds? I know you guys did an article with Pheasants Forever, but I don't want to read that out of a page. What is it about this place that's doing it?
I think it's just the arrangement on the land of the crops and the intermittent drainages, and we do have a couple plum thickets, but historically we've talked to some of the neighbors and they've said, oh, that property has always had pretty good quail numbers, and we've just heard kind of some rumors that this was kind of just an interesting property before my uncle even bought it in 2005, and first time we hunted it, we got into birds and we were like, yeah, that's a neat property. But we could always see that, there's probably some things we could do here, and not just leave it, not just say, oh,
not
well,
just
it's good enough
to be here.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we've noticed is that some of the projects we've done recently, despite the drought, have really benefited the quail. They seem to they like those micro habitats. They don't need quite as much space. So these littler projects that we're able to accomplish, we've seen the quail be the main benefactor, and that's kind of been fun. We want to see more pheasants, but at least we can see more quail and know that
one
we're
of the
helping
problems
them.
with pheasants is, correct me if I'm wrong, is like if you scoot some pheasants off the property, it's likely that they could go, I don't want to say a mile, but I've seen them go a half mile and glide another quarter, right? And if that property over there doesn't hold them, they're probably more subject to predation and they got to get their way back. And the quail are definitely a more
smaller area.
They live in a smaller area.
Yeah.
But any idea if this property, like you said, neighbor said it was always good. Was this always, did it kind of always look like this? Or did somebody ever farm this corner to corner to corner back in the day, or do we know?
It used to have less trees, so it probably used to be a little bit better for pheasants.
Okay.
And then some of these little fingers where currently we don't farm used to be farmed kind of
Right.
following the contours.
Whether
a
they
little bit
made
more.
money or not, but
Yeah,
they
they farmed a little bit more of it.
Yeah.
Like I said, the aerial photos back, as far as they'll go, show less trees.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think, I don't know, it's changed, but I think the main reason the pheasants really just are having trouble is the drought. It just
Okay.
comes back to precipitation during the summer, spring and summer. So.
Yeah. Precipitation at the right time.
Right. You guys are telling me that you will get up in the middle of the night and check you get a phone alert from your weather station.
Check the
Like,
radar.
And you call up your dad. Dad, it's raining. It's raining at the farm. Because I know. Isn't that great? It's hard to believe that. In fact, when we were talking to a farmer here the other day that came over, I said, boy, those Indiana farmers. If Kansas farmers were talking to Indiana farmers, they'd be like, you big wussies.
Yeah.
You get rain all the time, right? It's so scary. Oh, it's almost scary to live in such a questionable precipitation area.
Yeah.
It's not questionable on wind or cold.
Yeah.
I mean, if wind and cold grew birds, you guys would have this market cornered. Because today, I was like, you guys are tougher. You're Norwegian.
Yeah.
I'm just Chicago German. Okay. It was too cold to hunt, but we still hunted.
We did.
Still hunted.
We did.
But that north wind, I mean, people here just probably could put it together when it was coming through. That big solar blast was coming down. Because I know a friend of mine told me that he loved Kansas because if you said it was a typical January, you get a lot of 40-degree days and cold nights, but sunny skies, and it's almost like great walking weather. Mm-hmm. Wasn't today. My fingers were frozen. I couldn't pull the
You
trigger.
were sweating on Thursday.
I was sweating. You're right. I got here before you guys, and my back was sweating walking up the edge.
It's always a crapshoot in January.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
But
if it's
never,
cold, it's cold. If it's nice, it's nice. But
you never not try it though.
if we can get here, the roads are good. We're on our way.
So Eric, what was like? How little were the kids when you first came to Kansas with your dad?
Well,
Were you a teenager or?
oh no.
Little
I
older?
was out of college. I was in my 20s, I guess.
So you guys hunted mostly Colorado then back in the day, or?
Colorado and Southwest Kansas.
Oh, South. That's right. You
Yeah.
said Southwest.
But I think these guys were, shooting age, 12
Well, when you got that one?
12 years old or whatever when we started hunting up in this
Yeah.
area.
Oh, yeah.
So as kids, you guys have been tromping around here 20 plus years. Yeah.
They've seen it all. They've
Planted the trees,
Yep. The shelter belts, these guys
Yeah.
helped plant the shelter belts.
We never told
and that's
you
what
that
makes it look different when you drive down the road. You look at this place, you do see little things. You see those different shelter belts. You see green field. You see some wheat. You see some corn. You see, like you didn't get here and say like we're gonna make money.
No. We're making memories.
Which is a lot better than making money because memories last forever.
Right. Right.
Yeah, this is really a great invite, and I can't thank you guys enough. So we got to do really it was a pretty short trip, but when I got here ahead of everybody, just because I left early because of I thought I might get into my own snowstorm coming here, and got to take a walk all by myself, and in a 30-minute walk, I put up 2 large coveys of quail, and I was a little overwhelmed. I'm lucky to hit one and get one, but I was like, whoa, this is real, and I actually felt like, okay, I shouldn't go hunting anymore until Eric gets here, because they're gonna like after I leave, he's gonna go, can you believe Ron just kept hunting and didn't wait for me? But as I meet you guys, you're like, I don't think you would have cared if you guys would have had flat tires and couldn't shown up. You just said, make sure you lock the door. And that's what's funny. Like, that's that. I don't want to say bird hunting, but it's that kind of that rural trust. Like you just say, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, come here. Open. Here's the door. Where's the key. Make sure you lock it up. Close the door behind you. But you were raised with that.
Oh, yeah.
and my era, your era, just for all edification's sakes, I'm the only. No, I won't go into my Bogan high school days. Eric and I were both born in the 50s. Let's just leave it at that. So things were a little different back then. Not everything was locked up, but people aren't the same as they were. You won't find everybody even our age that trustworthy. You just don't. Maybe they got something happened to them. But meeting you guys, it's like I found another little piece of family. And that's what I've always said about hunting is I like the adventure and the people I meet as much as I do the birds and the dogs.
Exactly.
You know, that's why I keep doing it. That's why we go to banquets sometimes, just to say hi to somebody we haven't seen in a year, you know.
You've been an easy one to please, Ron.
Well, yeah, because you guys cook for me, you drive me around. I mean, if I complained, I should be kicked squarely in the butt.
You've been great. It's been a lot of fun, and we've been getting some birds up and getting some shooting and eating some good food and having a great time.
This has been. I want to do a little bit of recap. Now, I didn't realize how difficult it would be to find quail.
Yeah.
After you shoot them, we have to spend a lot of time looking for and you're like, how strong? It's not a pheasant. We know what a pheasant does. If it's not hitting the neck or the head, or drop the leg, you got a job on your hand getting a rooster, right? I can't believe how tenacious these quail are. Mm-hmm. They will do anything to not be found after they're shot. But you said last year it was almost not the opposite, but it was like, oh, there it is. Oh, dog got it.
Yeah, no, I don't know if like we talked about the wind being maybe a difference, but
but
not only did they find them, but when we get up the coveys and then they would break off, we were able to find the pairs and the singles. No problem with minimal scent of them just landing again.
Yeah.
So that's why this trip was interesting.
It was interesting. Yeah.
Too much wind.
It was a lot of wind. Yesterday was a lot of wind. I honestly kept thinking in my head that I am not going to hit one of these birds because I kind of choke a little bit with Huns. You know, I choke a lot with Huns. My shooting has been better here on quail than Huns. And it's an explosive covey and what was half the size of a Hun.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about the body of the bird, it's half the size of a Hun. And I did better hitting quail. How did the kids do when they were? Because quail's hard to. I mean, it's a focus. It's a concentration thing.
Yeah. So I think when they were younger, we were focused on pheasants. Much easier for a young person to hit. Right. We ran into quail, but it was just kind of randomly. And,
so it was more pheasant hunting than it was for
if
quail.
we shot a quail, that was great, but we were targeting pheasants.
You're going for the roosters.
And, as they got older, they got better, and now they're pretty.
Did you guys all skeet shoot, trap shoot together, or anything too?
Yeah, quite a bit. I think just being familiar with our shotguns and getting a good shotgun early in life. And the fact that we just enjoy bird hunting, starting with dove season in September, and here we are out in Kansas in January still hunting. Yeah. It's just about doing it a lot. So.
Yeah. Now you said, Jay, you're using the same shotgun that you got how many years ago?
Well, I was 12, so 20, yeah.
So you don't have a shotgun collection?
No. No point.
He has some of my guns that he's borrowed and never given back.
Yeah. But as far as
does that count?
I don't care.
The only thing I changed to was boss.
That's
leaving everything else the same. Why switch it up when I've had it for over 20 years? It just works.
It's just work. Use it for waterfowl. Use it for quail, whatever you're doing.
Yep. Except for turkey. But
what are you shooting, Matt?
Same as Jay, just a newer over and under Browning Satori, and I switched to Boss a couple years ago, and
but
just
no,
keep it all
you're not
consistent.
A gun collector. You're not. No, I'm going to bring out the pump. Oh, I should have brought out the auto loader.
No, other than having a semi-auto for turkey hunting, I said same thing. I'm like, why just shoot what I'm comfortable with at everything?
So, Ron, the reason why I help them get these over and unders is because it's a safety thing.
Yeah.
Get to the end of the field, break it open. You don't have any issues.
There's no question.
There's no question.
Right.
And I just thought that was the way to go. And it was because of our bird hunting. Just I don't like when it gets at the end of the field, everybody's talking and guns are swinging, and you don't know whether they're loaded or not. But if a over and under's open, there's no question.
You'd have to be an acrobat to close that and accidentally discharge. I did the same thing with my daughters. I started them with a break open gun.
Yep.
And that's because, in fact, when they were, we kind of had to talk about like what's too young to bring a kid out. Well, it's like what's not safe enough to bring a kid out with, and when you're just doing like dog training and you're putting some chuckers down in the grass, there's no surprise here. And I could literally get my daughter to walk all the way up in front of the dog and then close the gun, and you felt like, well, no one's getting shot today. But so you guys, I don't know anybody who doesn't do a little more gun collecting than that.
And Dad and I, we both have fixed chokes. Matt's can change them out, but we have fixed chokes no matter what I'm doing. It's the same.
Hot shot.
You probably don't change them though, do you?
No, not too much. Better not.
They probably don't even come out anymore.
Better not to think about it too much.
A lot of times it's the chief, not the arrow.
That's true. That's true. You guys do a lot of hunting, though. I mean, you've been to Michigan for turkey. You've been all over for birds, ducks, and Eric, you work with the hunter retriever HRC.
Yes, sir.
Not for them, but work with them.
Right.
And trial dogs, test them, and judge them.
Mm-hmm.
Did the kids get involved with that when you were doing it, or was that your me time?
It was not my me time. These guys were involved in everything. As soon as they were old enough to be bird technicians or bird boys,
right?
They were out there.
Put them to work.
If I got a request to judge in Nebraska, I remember one year I took Matt and I said, "I'm coming to judge, but I'm taking my son. He's going to be one of my bird boys." Mm-hmm. And you remember that?
Yep,
and,
$20 a day.
$20 a
Oh,
day.
yeah, he's got a job.
Deal.
Yeah.
And the one year we went to North Platte, Nebraska, and did that for a weekend, and then I had him out of school. We went down here to Kansas to hunt turkeys, and Jay was the same way. I mean, from really young age they were involved in the HRC.
And it wasn't like you told them they had to. It's just like we're doing this.
They wanted to.
They just wanted to be with you.
Yeah, they wanted to.
And
they loved it.
So you didn't bring them out as a 3-year-old where they'd be exhausted, but 8, you can walk pretty
These
good.
guys were hunting with me when they were 5 and 6 years old, but
Walking with you.
No, well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember what year it was. Matt was whatever, but I drove through Pueblo on our way down to go duck hunting and had Matt, and it was 20 below on the bank sign.
What?
And I thought, what are we doing? How old were you then?
Oh man, maybe 6 or 7.
6 or
You
7.
didn't care.
And I thought, I don't know how my wife Janice would let me do this, but we went anyway.
And you went.
We went
20 below.
20 below.
So
I
no wonder
think
why you guys were out today. It was only 16 with a 30-mile-an-hour wind. What a dummy I am.
But Ron, I can think back of me putting out my clothes that night before, knowing it was going to be so cold.
Yeah.
And I can remember that morning of hunting. And I went a lot with him when I was around that age, but I specifically remember that cold hunt the best.
Yeah.
It was just
Because
that
you don't
memory.
remember, you always remember the difficult things, the cold things, the miserable things. They make the best stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good hunting because it was so cold and we had a spot the birds wanted to be, and that memory is lasting for sure.
And I think we shot some geese, we got some ducks, and we followed it up with some pheasants and quail in the afternoon when it warmed up to 10 below.
I feel really inadequate right now. Because when I got up this morning, I said, who wants to watch TV?
Yeah. The Chiefs are on.
What did your work with the Hunter Retriever Club, did that lead to, I mean, did that foster you as a hunter, or was that already ingrained in you and that was just something to kind of do?
Oh, no, it was something to do.
Just something in the realm that you liked.
I think I shot my first pheasant when I was 12, so my dad got us into hunting, and we had a duck lease up north of Denver, So the hunting part of it I'd been doing for a lot of time.
Right. So this is just extension of hunting.
Yeah.
After Luke, your first dog,
My
he was
very
kinda
first dog I
out of
had
control.
was a black lab, and he was a pretty good dog, but no training.
No formal training.
And
Now, was it your dog or your dad's dog?
no, it was my dog.
It was your dog. Okay.
But I went out hunting with pheasant hunting with some buddies of mine from the office, and dog got out of the truck and got run over by one of my buddies and killed it.
First day of the trip.
First day and so I didn't call my wife and say anything. I just thought I got through this, and got home, and it was kind of tough. Matt was, I think, 3 years old. But anyway, I told myself I got to do better, and I found the Southern Colorado Hunting Retriever Club in 86 or 87, something like that.
Yeah.
And I just said I'm gonna do a better job.
And you get not right back on the bike, get another dog.
Back on the bike, got another dog. The dog was right out of the newspaper, which isn't the best way to get them, but anyway.
I had my first one came out of a newspaper.
Back in the 90s, that's kind of.
Well, yeah, we didn't have Google.
Back in the 80s. Yeah.
80s, yeah. The best thing you could do is see a sign in the front yard that said AKC puppies.
Yeah.
Remember those?
Yeah.
People would put a plywood sign up, and when they had a litter, they'd drag the plywood sign back up and say AKC Labs, AKC Collies,
So I joined the club, and when I got out and saw some of the longtime members of the club and saw what they did with their retrievers, I was like, wow, I don't know if I can do that, but I can try.
Right.
And everything just kind of.
But that first dog that died, I mean, you could take him hunting.
Yeah.
But, I mean, was it like steadiness issues, or you just didn't have any way to steer? There's no steering wheel or brakes on him.
I'd just say he was an a-hole.
Oh, yeah.
He would whine the entire
It
trip.
goes back to my first dog. I don't think he even liked me.
I don't think any of my buddies liked me.
Oh no, he's coming with. What was that dog's name? Let's give him some
Luke.
Luke. Oh, I usually like the name Luke too. So the second dog you get.
Yep.
Now you got some mentoring basically with this retriever club.
Yep.
She was tough, though.
Was there pressure on you, or did you take that dog right through the whole process?
I did. It took 5 years.
5 years.
Yep. I went through a lot of trials and tribulations. Not being knowledgeable about training a dog to compete in HRC tests.
Right. And
But,
you weren't sending up to a trainer. You were trying to.
I couldn't afford that, and I was saving for Jay's education. Anyway. But I just I stuck with it, Ron. It was she was a breaking dog, and but I just stuck with it, and I said I'm going to get there, and I did.
Now, breaking dog means the hardest part for that dog was it wanted to break on you before you gave it the command.
Sitting at a bucket and watching the marks come out.
Right.
And but like I said, I stuck with it, and then had several dogs after that, and I learned more and more each time, and so got into judging in, I guess, 1993.
In that program, does somebody kind of recommend you, or do you show an interest to it, or is there an application to it? Or?
Yeah, the club has to fill out a recommendation form.
Right. They've seen you long enough. They've met you.
Yeah.
You know what the test is about. Dogs enough.
Right. You have to have achieved a certain level before you
Proficiency
can
with you and your dog.
Right.
Yeah.
It changed my world. I mean, I've been in it for 32 years, 35 years or whatever, and I love it. I just got an invite on my phone today to judge a test in western Colorado, and I said, yeah, sign me up.
Why not? Hook me up. So how many, roughly, I mean, I don't put you on the spot, what number dog are you on now? Like number 5, number 10, number, do you keep track of it?
Number 5.
Number 5.
Yeah.
So you've never had a kennel full. You always kind of work with one dog and get it through pretty much its lifespan, and then get a younger dog in.
I've tried to have most of the time we have 2 dogs, but
a good separation of years.
Yeah, when the dog gets 7, 8 years old, I kind of try to get one to replace
Yeah.
Follow
To the
it.
boys, is there a dog that stands out to you guys?
Well, I'm the only one in the family that didn't champion one of our dogs.
Oh, you're the only one?
Only one.
Once
I
again.
didn't-
Shame on you.
Once again, the family disappointment over here.
She was.
Oh, Ron, he tried.
He tried.
He tried.
Yeah.
He tried.
He just couldn't
She
do it.
was
really tried.
She was a lot. But
Was she a breaking dog?
no, she was. Her nickname was Song Dog. She was so loud. She would.
Oh.
You'd get on a duck call.
Quit yiping and
Yeah, and she would creep. She would never break, but she would creep. So when they creep like that, they don't follow marks very well.
Right,
So
'cause they
I
like
I needed two more
happy
finish.
footing all over
Yep,
the
I needed
place.
2 more finish tests to get a champion, but it was also the tail end of high school into college, and it was hard to
Yeah.
do that. But yeah, she was the only one out
But-
of all the.
and that
labs.
was your dog?
That was mine.
Okay.
Yep. But the one that we got when Matt and I were old enough to train, her name was Sammy. Yeah.
This stick out as a favorite. I mean, everybody has
she
somebody had a
was-
favorite
she
dog.
was-
I've had
she was the
a lot of
easiest.
favorite dogs, but
Yeah, she was just a.
She would hunt with any of us, and we just growing up in middle school, high school, and Jay, a few years younger, she seemed to be the one that helped us get a lot of our kind of first birds.
Yeah.
Both pheasants and ducks.
Because the other dogs always wanted to hunt with Dad.
Yeah.
They could care less about
and
us.
they listen better to you.
Oh, they
and
would blow us
everything.
off. Yeah, Sammy was the first one that.
Sammy sounds like it had a high level of cooperation.
she was a sweetheart.
Just put my leash in someone's hand, let me go do my thing.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. She'd go fishing with us. She'd sit on the front of the boat. She was just.
It wouldn't matter if you were on vacation, taking a hike.
Yep. She was easy for mom at home. Like she was.
Isn't
just a
that
sweetheart.
everybody's idea of what a lab is supposed to be? Kind
Oh, it
of,
is. Oh,
isn't
it
it?
is, yeah.
It's like it's the every family dog, right?
Yep.
And then we want a hunting dog, and we find like, I didn't know
Yeah.
I didn't know he wanted to go harder than I wanted to go.
She lived to be 14, and it was just super easy. So.
And did she live with you till the end, or she lived with?
No, she
Matt?
was with. Yeah. So when she was about 3 is when I got my personal dog.
Okay.
And Dad and I drove to Amarillo, Texas to get her. She came from AKC lines and was just a little more high fire.
Field trial.
Yeah,
Field trial.
And yeah, so
It's some octane, huh?
Yes, she did.
so most of all the early 2000s, those were our 2 dogs.
Yeah.
And then in 2010, they went out to Nebraska and bought litter mates that yeah.
Matt and
Yep.
Eric.
Yep.
Now, not raised together though,
Nope.
because that's always kind of an iffy thing to do is get litter mates and
Yeah, no matter.
try to raise them at the same time together.
Yeah, no, we trained separately, and he championed her first, and mine was a couple years later, being my first. It took me a few extra years of trials and tribulations, but yeah, when they were puppies or 6-7 months old, we had them out here in some of our best years in Kansas, and the amount of birds they got on upland hunting was pretty amazing early on. So that was really fun to have new dogs when there was a lot of birds around.
Yeah. I have some friends in South Dakota that every time you see everybody after a year, kind of the bond grows a little thicker, and we hunted together this year, and they both of them said, I don't know why anybody doesn't hunt with labs. It's all you need to hunt with is a lab. They are lab people. He goes, and then, well, one guy's got a Springer, but they pheasant hunt, they duck hunt, they'll go sharptail hunt. I mean, if you go to the right cover, the dog is still doing its job. But I think still people think like all labs are just sweethearts. And you said they're not. They're not. They can be a little much.
They can. Yep.
Have you had one that sticks out as a little much yourself?
Well, the first one.
Oh, the first
'Cause
one.
I didn't know what I
was
was
the first
doing.
one the worst one?
Yeah. First
So
one
it's
was the
all-
worst one.
It's all been getting better,
It would. That makes sense, right?
right?
Yeah, it has.
You actually learn something.
That's right.
No, there's a real rabbit hole. Something I learned from somebody I interviewed. She starts working with her puppies at 4 weeks of old, stacking them on a show table or a training table or a grooming table.
At how old?
4 weeks.
Good.
She starts dragging them backwards, holding them by the body, and they resist and they start kind of stacking up. And by the time they're 8 weeks old, she could take them to Westminster. Now, I'm not saying
Wow.
they could go around the circle and ring and trot, but she's handled them so much, and with that that calming touch of stroking the tail and stroking the back and then lifting the legs up and then kind of, no, don't move your leg, put the leg back, put the leg back. You ever see anybody do that with a lab?
No, not at that age.
No, I never, and these are short hairs. Now,
Oh.
you know, and I've hunted with her and her husband, and remember we were talking about, you know, how do you get a good short hair? Well, you have a vet clinic and you finally meet enough of them to find a good one. I met a breeder, like, if I'm going to get a short hair, or my next pup, I'm going to do exactly this. I'm going to do way more hands-on, way more fussing with their ears, way more, nope, don't move. Almost like whoa, but with no verbal. It's all from your hands, like, nope, up. You never tried.
Can't go wrong with that, right?
Right. It seems like it helps with the impulse control, where they don't just, it's not about me right now. Like from early on, they're like, oh, this large thing on two legs is in charge. And I don't know if you ever did any of that kind of stuff early. So if you get when you get a new pup, and besides crate training and getting used to the truck, do you have a routine like with your bumpers and your retrieves? Do you wait a little while? Are you early?
Boy, I don't. Oh, that's.
I'm going to put you on the trainer's platform.
No,
here.
I know. So sometimes I wonder about doing stuff too early if you kind of ramp them up a little bit too much.
Yeah. Almost
And,
like keep showing them a good time.
Right.
Yeah.
You get them at 7 or 8 weeks old, and you're kind of going, I got to do something right away. And I think with my current dog Breeze, you know, she gets pretty ramped up, but kind of wonder, and I think some of the professional trainers nowadays are talking about, well, wait till they're a little bit older before you get.
Don't introduce them to everything, all the stimulation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of give it some time. Let them grow up a little bit.
Right.
So I think, you know, my next dog, I'm gonna slow down. I don't know what more to say.
You're not gonna say like, oh my God, it's 3 months. We should be doing some short blind retrieves already. Right?
No, I think
people do that with puppies. They all of a sudden they start like, they get a dog, let's say a retriever. I mean, we know short hairs love to retrieve too, and a lot of continental breeds. But they start throwing a bumper. Puppy loves it so much. Well, then every time you want to get this puppy's attention, he's looking for the bumper to be thrown.
Yeah.
Well, we're not. We're actually going into the car to go to the vet, and the dog's like, but where's the bumper? Where's the bumper? Where's my bumper? You know. Matt, when you got the dog, do you think you, I don't want to say did it right, do you think you overplayed with it a little bit?
No.
Because you mentioned it took a couple extra years to get it through the test,
Yeah,
so that's why I was going.
How old, Matt, was Josie?
Josie was 7 when she got her championship. So, and some of that was having kids and not having enough time to spend with her. But with her, mostly it was just, little things like just not completing some of the steps quite right and struggling through some of the early tests.
Yeah.
Later, it was just I had a friend down in Florida tell me one time. He said, I know Josie's a sweet dog, and she seems like a really good dog, but she's not listening to you.
There's a button to set.
She's
somewhere.
not listening to you. She's hunting for herself.
Yeah.
When I was trying to handle her on blind retrieves.
Right.
And once I figured out that she was not being a team player, I started training completely different. And then it was like a switch flipped.
Wow.
And we were a team then. And I was able to train her and get through her championship just because I finally saw.
And it wasn't because you did it so many times. It's just because that changed.
That just the change of what I wasn't reading what my dog was telling me.
Yeah.
She was trying to just hunt for herself. And when we fixed that, it was much easier.
Yeah.
So.
And Jay, how did you, again, fell out of the family business, fell into German short hairs? I mean, what happened?
Well, so
This son of yours is a complete disappointment.
No, he's not.
Are you going to the fridge? Oh yeah, we keep talking when we're getting beer. That's fine.
When I first thought, okay, maybe I might not get a lab after my
Thank you.
technically my first lab I had.
Right.
I thought, so my uncle had German wire hair pointers.
Oh,
Kent did.
that's right. I saw the pictures
Yeah.
of the one.
Before that, he had a griffin, or he had 2 griffins before that. So
Right.
I thought, And I've hunted with them, and I just thought, I just love this pointing business. And
Did you shoot some birds over
Oh,
points?
absolutely. Well, my first quail, I remember, like, he remembers his first rooster. I remember...
Over the pointing dog.
Yeah, I remember my first quail was his dog Buck, Big Griffin, out in the middle of a cornfield on point. Like, you wouldn't think... we don't really hunt
You're talking about cut cornfield.
Yeah. And I walk up, and a whole covey gets up, and that's my first quail. And I thought, well, these pointers are pretty cool. But I knew that if I was going to get a pointer, that... And just knowing the energy and just the personality of them, that if I was going to fit in with the lab family, because our Uncle Kurt, my dad's youngest brother, he's got labs, and his daughter, our cousin, she's got labs. And so I thought, well, I better find a pointer that knows how to fit in with with how we hunt, how we obviously my waterfowl days are done, but and that's where I found... As
far as a dog utility, yeah.
Correct. So, I had to find one that was... A line that was pretty mellow.
Yeah, I think I was pleasantly surprised, between my wire-haired Vizsla, lazy drinking camel problem dog I have. But was fun, like on the walks we did, there was no dog that just took that 200-yard jag off somewhere, all on his own.
Yeah.
And even if you're friends, and even if you can bust on each other at the end of the day, when somebody's dog does that a couple times, you're like, come on, we're trying
yesterday you said, sorry guys, and we said, that's okay. Well, this tag got a little bit away.
Yeah, he got a little bit away, which he's usually in for water. Yeah. I mean, how far away could the dog get when he goes through 2-liter bottles of water in a 20-yard walk, But, like, did you do anything with your short hairs to kind of keep them in that range?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was just what I did around the house and what I did with... I took them to the vet clinics every day for work when they were puppies. They would just hang out. Everything I did was close quarters and really just keeping them very obedient. Not really much hunting stuff until they got older, and then getting them on birds. And I think that helped keep them...
Well, that kind of goes with what we're talking about. You didn't... At 8 weeks, you didn't say, I'm going to go get a pigeon launcher and start flinging birds.
Yeah, I probably had,
They got a lot of socialization.
Or feather, pheasant feather or something. But I didn't...
Because they hunted nice together. I mean, your older girl, she's I look at her when she gets done hunting, and her back legs, she's cold. Today, you're taking Gwynny, right?
Yeah.
You're taking Gwynny out? Yeah, well, she wanted to. I'm thinking, I think that was muscle memory when she saw you walk to the door.
Well, it's funny because she wanted to hunt. She was out there just determined.
That's dog's desire.
It's so fun.
They can make you feel bad later, but they can make you feel bad if you leave them at home too. But I mean, we had some good bird work. We had some good stuff today and yesterday. And your dad and I had the best day. I mean, it was just me and him. The old guys
warm.
Old guys.
The old guys walking with the dogs.
Old guys rule.
Can't forget Vivi though, finding.
For sure.
Because these birds, and you mentioned, or we kind of touched on it. You knock a pheasant down heavy cover, even if it's dead, it's hard to find sometimes. And it seemed like every one of these quail wanted to give their last dying breath to burrowing under whatever clump of grass they could. And now we got windy days. We've got what? 1, 2, 3. We got 4 dogs that are all about, we'll just say 20 inches at the shoulder, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, roughly, right? And then we got one little miniature called Vivi, the Cocker Spaniel. And
she was a rock star.
She was. Yep. It's windy. The bird just went down. We get to the birds. We saw the bird. It's got to be here. And all of a sudden, Vivi's nose only being, 8 inches off the ground, boom, there's a bird. And she did that like 3 times, or 4 times, 3 times that I can think of. But today, I think today's was like the fun, the most fun for when I'm missing birds or not doing something and like, well, I'm not that great, but at least my dog impressed these guys today.
Yeah, well, she did.
When I yell at you, Ron, go get Vivi.
Go get Vivi.
Is it okay?
It's like, release the Kraken.
Yeah.
So in Ron fashion, Ron blocked by the road. And I didn't know you were going to take your dogs out because I didn't know how you guys do this one area. You know, it's one of your favorite areas when you're on the trip. Let's always hit this area, and Jay tells me to stand on the road, kind of block, and they'll probably go this way. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't know you were going to get your dogs out. I thought we were both just going to block, and you and Breeze and Matt would come, and just it wasn't a big patch of cover.
A little bit of
But you guys have been here long enough to like, we can't not touch that patch of cover. and then Busy.
Yeah.
That name's just Busy.
I know.
Because I want to. Well, it's Breeze, and Busy, and Gwynny. It's like Ronnie, Jimmy, Donnie, Bobby. Guys got to work on names here a little bit. Anyway, she goes on point right at that cover, and you go, Ron, I am so cold. I got a double trigger gun. I can only get my finger in the first trigger. I got a ton of excuses here. The wind was at my back. The sun was covered by clouds. But the birds erupted.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, this trip, I've seen enough coveys of quail to be like, I gotta see quail coveys again. Like wherever I go, I gotta seek that out because that
got to be on your game.
There's no lollygagging. Right? In fact, I think you'd be better off with a flushing dog for quail. Only because with a flushing dog, you know, you're never going to get that like 40-yard, 50-yard, 100-yard point and be like, okay, I'm ready. You know, ready is ready the whole time you're hunting. And I noticed me switching arms a couple times, like, oh, these guys are all keeping their guns up where they're ready. They must have hunted quail before.
I noticed.
You notice me swinging. I switch arms.
Other people have mentioned that too when they hunt with us.
Yeah, and I like sometimes I'll kind of carry it like a suitcase for a second, and then I'll get it back up in my left, being left hand. Then I'll get it up on my hip, and I'll walk for a while like that. Or sometimes I'll be at port arms for a minute, and then sometimes I drop it. And I always think like, I wonder if they're noticing. But you can do that with a pointing dog in the right circumstance because the action's almost always up in front of you. But how these quail just come out of your feet? Well, I'll go back to the Vivi thing. So I'm at the road. I was no help taking a bird down, but you guys got 3 birds down out of that covey. And these coveys have been great sized coveys. I mean, I didn't know what to expect, but
10 to 15, 20 maybe.
It's a lot to watch. It's like, whoa!
Yeah.
And right away, Breeze picks up a quail. And you guys had good eyes on where they went on that little hillside, and immediately Jay goes, release Vivi!
Yeah. I knew.
And Vivi comes over there, and we're all doing it. Nobody wants to lose a bird. And we were probably up in that hill a good 10 minutes, probably.
Oh,
so we got Tagus, we got Breeze, we got Gwynny, we got Busy, and Vivi was out.
Yep.
So we got 5 dogs. And we're looking, and we're doing eyeball checks, and we're kind of grid patterning. And I remember I heard you say something. Well, if we can't shoot any better than that, we shouldn't be doing it. You said something kind of like...
If we can't find them, we shouldn't be shooting
them. That's what he said. And I was like, I don't know if I can hold myself to that standard, but that's the right thing to say, And then I think we're about ready to give up. Because sometimes you do with lost birds. And then Vivi started doing this warp speed figure 8 on the ground. Just warp speed. Like 3 times her normal hunting speed. And this just dove in and pulled out this quail. We all had this like relief, like we didn't have to leave one of our comrades in the field, even though we killed it. We didn't have to leave a soldier behind. We didn't have to leave it for Kyle. But, so that made me feel good with Vivi.
Oh no, it's interesting that
you've never hunted with it. You've got them in the club.
Yeah, Cockers in our club never hunted with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we had how many dogs? 4 or 5? 4 dogs out there.
4 regular sized dogs.
And regular sized dogs, and you mentioned that where she's lower to the ground, and I thought I've never thought about that.
Yeah, I mean,
it has to make a difference.
It has to make a difference because she, in my memory, I want to say 4, but that might be me thinking. But there's 3 that I know of that we wouldn't have found.
Oh yeah.
Without her all of a sudden just burrowing. Yeah, I'm thinking of the fourth one where the bird was kind of running away from me, and I said, I'm too old to jump on a running quail. And luckily Vivi came up the other way. It just went. In fact, I remember she went right past the quail, but you know how they do that, like, what was that? It's like running past a pizza parlor when they're hungry. She made a U-turn and just like whap that thing. Now we'll say,
I don't think if you don't have a dog, you shouldn't be hunting quail. Probably.
I would have.
I mean,
100%
you could say
agree.
the same thing about pheasants, but for sure, quail is just like, you should be out there.
They're that hard to find.
Oh.
They're that hard to find. But now you said the other day, or today, you had a year last year where it's like, wow, we didn't really struggle on the retrieving part of it.
Yeah. Well, even when we were here,
But was that more because of singles, where the dog was in on it quicker, you think, or was it covey rises and picking them up?
Well, I don't know. It
Or a
was
little bit of both.
same place. Well, same trip last year we did.
Less
Yeah.
wind.
Yeah,
Less
less-
wind
Yeah.
for sure. That's got to help.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, even when we were here in November, we got into a handful of quail too, and we didn't lose. We didn't struggle finding those as well. So
Well, we'll dedicate this episode to Vivi's recovery.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
good.
you, Vivi. Thank you, Vivi. Yeah, this has been. I can't tell you how much I appreciate getting invites. And I remember when I told you, I said, I know you don't know me yet, but if somebody invites me, there's a good chance I'm showing up. And I couldn't be any happier that I showed up to this place. This is a lot of fun. It's a beautiful place. I don't mean beautiful looking at it, although it is beautiful looking at it.
Well, it's Kansas, but
yeah.
if you're a bird hunter, it's beautiful.
It's exactly because if you just landed from another planet, like down the road between two fence posts, you'd be like, "Where am I? Am I on the moon?" Because if it's a cattle pasture, it ain't that pretty anymore, right? What's for you guys? I'm not trying to draw a picture of the property, but you've been working on habitat, working on from food plots to green fields to what do you call the burn lines where you can burn and
fire breaks.
fire break lines,
Green
you
fire
can,
break.
so you can burn the next year. Do you have like a game plan for every year? Do you kind of scratch it out what you're going to do on the property, Matt?
Yeah, I think we do. We keep pretty good notes, and not having a lot of farm equipment, we have to plan ahead. Whether we have a local guy that helps us with our food plots, or we borrow our farmer's tractor if we're
Right.
a couple days to do some disking of some brome grass.
How did you like? I know you're in biology, but is it land management biology or is it just
Wildlife?
wildlife biology? So you didn't have like the farming background,
No.
right?
No.
or really the botany.
You could
background.
identify plants and animals, and maybe dissect a frog.
You remember their high school days there.
Yeah, back to high school.
That's a good point. We understand what we need to do for the birds. Don't necessarily know how to get there, how to farm.
Farm form.
Farm for them.
Yeah.
What to plant, how deep the seeds go, how much moisture you need,
Timing and moisture.
timing of the moisture, all that kind of
Which
stuff.
goes into timing of the planning,
That's
which
crazy.
then it goes into rolling the
It's-
dice on Mother Nature.
Yeah.
But I think
Where did you get all the? Like, where did you guys go to first for the help, or did your brother start getting the help first, or did you guys start getting the habitat help? How
He
did that-
started with NRCS, getting some
And
projects started.
NRCS is
Natural Resource Conservation Service.
okay, and that's nationwide or
And
Kansas?
Pheasants Forever has biologists in a lot of those offices. So
Okay.
they're out there, but what was I going to say?
Well, how did you decide you were going to get some help? How did you get the help to do the like?
Call them up.
Just call them up.
Yeah. We've had a lot of help with the state, the Kansas Department of Wildlife.
Yep. Local biologist has been just super helpful.
Really
and
So they just come out and walk the property with you.
Yeah, and I think what
Or
they do
so to
around
speak.
what's really been helpful is they talk about the cost share programs that are available. So a lot of the habitat work we do out here, we get some cost share help with it.
So they're that much in favor of you improving
They are.
habitat.
I think I told you that one of the first projects we had out here. We had Two Pheasants Forever people out here and the state, and Matt and I, we were looking at a project, and they said, nobody ever applies for these dollars for habitat work. They said, just apply, you'll get them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the typical government.
There's some paperwork. There's paperwork involved. But it shouldn't stop somebody from trying that.
Well, I don't think so. It didn't me, because I worked for the government for my entire career, so I was like, we can deal with this.
Right.
And
I've met dumb people before.
Well,
I shouldn't say that. I've encountered dumb regulations before. How's that?
I guess we recognize it for what it is. It's got to follow the rules and the process. Not that big a deal.
But they were really open about saying,
oh, yeah,
we've got some, what you call it, matching funds, so to speak.
Matching funds. And they said, we don't get other people applying for these wildlife funds, so you guys just need to do it. And I think that's the take-home message, in my opinion, is that people want to do habitat work on their farms. There's resources available,
right? If
you want to pursue that. So
is Matt leading up the charge on it, or both of you, or is Jay? I mean, how does that work? Or
I just come hunting. I hope they did it right.
He's like, Jay comes out and goes, all right, that weed over there doesn't look very good. And Matt's like, why don't you come out in the spring, brother?
Yeah, why weren't you here in the summer when it was 110?
But do you have like more plans for the property? Like, is there like, like if you could like paint a brush, like go like, whoosh, that's gonna look like that. What's some of the wishes that you're trying to do with the property?
I think just expand on what we've done. We have one of the things we've been able to do ourselves is a lot of noxious weed control, whether it be Canada thistle, and then some of this smooth brome that we have, just your classic roadside grass.
Yeah.
This area, Kansas, it just doesn't provide very good habitat for really anything.
Right, and it doesn't even let forbs or anything grow.
No,
right?
it becomes a monoculture. It's rhizomatous grass that's just not very productive, doesn't produce insects. So we have a lot of patches around the farm that we're trying to, disturb, create, place for native grasses and forbs. And we're just finding more places where we want to do something.
Does that happen sometimes on a walk? You're like,
we'll jump
boy,
on.
it'd be nice if that looked like that.
Exactly.
Over there.
And then if we're able to borrow our farmer's tractor, we try to do a few things, put in a few food plots, even though food's probably not limiting. But again, kind of going back to that quail thing, if we can create everything a quail needs where it doesn't even have to fly or travel,
right,
just less susceptible to predation,
right,
and just giving it everything it needs, keep them on your property. So
there's just, you could almost go every year and find something to do.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting, Ron. We can't really make a mistake out here. And what I mean by that is, even if we do a food plot of some sort and it doesn't take, and the weeds come up, it's still good for pheasants and quail.
Right. Quail are weed seed eaters.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
So we're making mistakes, but we're learning from them. But for the most part, things are going pretty good. So.
Yeah, other than that one cornfield that came in like Green Acres, Eddie Albert and Zsa Zsa Gabor. Oliva!
Well, the snow geese were in there tonight, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
They probably looked at that and said, "Well, they couldn't have harvested that field." But so you guys kind of get a taste of it, even though you all have day jobs, so to speak. You get a really taste of what farmers go through too.
Oh, big time.
Because you want what they want. You want success in what you're growing.
Yep.
And then there's that agony of like, oh, come on. Just a little rain.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little rain. So you're doing a lot, and it's not just a hunt. I mean, we only hunted here a little bit. We went around different places. You've made friends and connections around the area. But yeah, it's kind of like farmers and gamblers. There should be a convention for you guys in Vegas. Right? Like, who wants...
Yeah, well, the most habitat work they've done has been during the drought.
Yeah.
And Matt made a comment the other day to me that I thought made a lot of sense. Is all the work we're doing, all growing season is to grow more birds.
Yeah.
Which is what we want ultimately, but we have more fun coming out during the growing season to see what's working, what
Right.
we think is working.
That's like a little hunting trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not shooting anything, but we're looking at this.
But you
these
told me you
plants.
saw coveys of young quail.
Yep.
That's got to be as exciting as seeing a covey when you're out hunting.
Yep, it is.
Because it's like it's working.
Yeah.
It's not about killing. Right?
No.
It's about
Well,
making
nobody
better.
can make a living eating quail all year long. There's that many quail does not exist.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that to me that would be like I did a little logging project, but I'm only on 15 acres, and I watched the regenerated forest grow up, and now I haven't seen a grouse come back. We've got grouse still near the house, but like I have that when I walk out there like with the grandkids, I'm like, oh please have a grouse flush out of here, and I'm never gonna be able to hunt that grouse, but if I saw that grouse flush out of that early successional forest, I'd be like, I did something right.
Yep.
You know, it felt good. And I'm not saying for the grandkids. It's just like I did something for the bird. You know. And so when you told me about those two coveys, you saw the little cotton ball quail kick up.
Yeah.
It's just amazing to think that they could make it to today.
Oh, man.
Right.
You know, the little fluff balls,
Bumblebees.
and here we're out swinging on them. It's got to be a great feeling.
Oh, it is. It really is. We're doing the best we can. Again, it's an experiment, I guess.
Yeah.
Best way to put it. But if we do something wrong, it's not a big deal.
Right.
It just did.
It's a passion.
It's most of the projects we're doing are small.
Yeah.
So it's a passion. Yeah. It's for the grandkids. It's for these guys, and I got 6 grandkids, and 5 of them are boys, so
Yeah.
we're hopeful all of them be shooting.
I got 6. We did 3 and 3. We did it even. I told my kids to pay attention. I wish I'd had no. Yeah, it's not like you're doing it for them, but in a sense you are doing it for them. And the ones you'll never know, you know.
Right.
The ones
Right.
beyond that. That'd be so cool to keep that for.
Well, we had Matt.
to have
Matt's,
someday just be a centennial farm under
Yeah.
family name. That'd be
Matt's
cool.
daughter and son were out today with us, Lizzie and Ben, and walked with us for a little while, and it was probably, I don't know what the wind chills were, but it was below zero.
I was going to volunteer to walk Lizzie and Ben back to the truck, and then Dad, Matt, says, I'll take them back to the truck. I'm like, no, I can get it. Uncle Ron can do it.
Yeah, but, the
But
last
they
time,
went out, they suited up, and they went out
Yep.
for the walk. And
They experienced it.
Right.
So.
and when we were here in Thanksgiving, Jay's boys were out, and they carried birds for us, and, that's all you can do at that
Right.
age is just expose them to it.
and if they see you guys having a good time, it's not like you have to talk them into it.
Yeah.
When they get older, they always want to I wonder if that's that. Is it that fun?
Yeah.
But they've seen it all along without being told they have to do it.
Yeah.
And then same thing, like you didn't say today, come on, we only got a mile to the house.
Yeah.
You was like, no, okay, we
This is
tried.
the right thing to do.
We tried. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah, Lizzie, she just stalled.
She was trying to get comfortable in her clothes and it wasn't working.
I look back at her, I'm like, maybe she's looking down at a mouse or something. She just stopped, and we keep getting further away. I'm like, does anybody notice she lives about 100 yards back? I think she was
Eventually we noticed.
Eventually we
thought,
noticed.
well, maybe
I'm the outside. I'm going. Someone's got to call child services on this. Well, anyway, I can't thank you guys enough for having me out here. This has been so great, and I got to shoot some birds. Got my dog some work. Got to see your dog. Met new dogs. Met new friends. I can't thank you enough for having me out here. It's been a real pleasure, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say, whether you invite me back not, next year I might just pop by and try. I'll just see if you're here. If you're not here, I'll say I had permission. I know where some of the good spots are now. These quail are somewhat predictable, except when they're not.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Yep, thanks.